What's up, everyone? Charlie, have you heard it here first? And my beer for tonight, they're both on Twitter. Wow, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've said that on this platform. And it's been a while since I've posted content on this platform. I don't know where to start, but I don't want to take all y'all time today. Let's just go ahead and get started here real fast, real quick on the quick pod. You know what I'm saying? Not a full show, but just a quick pod. So, real quick thought, or very quick thought. We had the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Nets last night, or the Nets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. That was on TNT. Did y'all watch? Did you watch? I watched the first half. Lately, I've been only watching the first half of basketball games as they are live, and then I catch the second half the next day as I'm working throughout the day, just hearing it, not seeing it. It was a very interesting game last night. Like my homeboy Jared would often say, who cares about a regular season game? Who cares if we already know said team will make the playoffs? I only care what happens in the playoffs. Now, he may not say it like that, but that's basically what he's saying. That being said, the Lakers played without Dennis Schroeder. They played without Anthony Davis. And also, Montrezl Harrell only played 15 minutes. That was kind of weird. But I don't know. He's new to the team. He's not new to the Lakers, but he's new to the team, new to the coaching staff. So maybe that has a reason. Like I said, only watching the first half of games and hearing, I don't necessarily pay attention to players' minutes. So looking at the box score and noticed that he only played 15 minutes, that was kind of weird. And as you know, the Nets played without KD. The biggest lead of the game that I noticed was first half, about 18 points. Nets were up on the Lakers at one point, about 18, almost 20 points if I'm not mistaken. After one quarter, the score was 31-24. After two, it was, let me try to remember there, 64-53. That's not on the sheet. Y'all be like, how you going to remember the sheets there? And then after three, it was 90-74. And then during garbage time, the Lakers scored 24 to the Nets 19, and the final score was 109-98, right? It looks like the game was close, but if you watch the game, especially in the first half, the Nets were getting busy. They were doing what they were supposed to do with the core of talent and the roster that they had active last night. And the Lakers couldn't really get it going. I mean, they were getting it going, but I mean, how can you get it going when the Nets were knocking down three-point shots? Like, that's just what the game is all about. It's just like, we only shoot threes, so we only make threes. And you got Harris hitting three-pointers off the glass. He probably called it. So it was just one of those games where the Lakers made it interesting at the end, but it was in garbage time. So the game is close by score, but it wasn't close at all. One would say if AD and Schroeder played, the Lakers would have scored 22 plus 14. That's both of those guys' average. Players don't always score their average, but when we look at the terms of wins and losses and what could have happened, we often go to what would a player scored if they played. So if AD and Schroeder played, we're talking 22 and 14 points, and that's just based off averages. So that would have pushed the Lakers' total score to 134. And then you throw in KD, because you have to throw in KD, his average. I think he's averaging about 29 points a game. That would have put the Nets' total score at 138. So we would have had a 4-point loss for the Lakers in a very competitive game based on how both teams are currently constructed, right? So with that being said, right, there are a few things I want to point out, right? One thing, I'm not like my homie Jared. I think every game counts. However, I like the Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers' chances in the West and to win the chip. And yes, I said the Clippers. I'll be honest. I think I said it before. The Lakers or the Clippers aren't winning the chip. This was when all this shit transpired and everything happened with the movement of AD, LeBron, and then we got PG and Kawhi. Like, part of me was just like, man, the Clippers could win the chip. But then after everything happened and then the bubble and all that, I was just like, man, They didn't even want to go into the bubble. So there's no way they're winning the chip, and those Los Angeles Lakers ended up winning. So when I'm talking about winning the chip, I'm just going off of pure talent, guys being together and believing in coaching staffs. And 2 coaching staffs I believe in. I believe in what Ty Lue brings to the table for the Clippers, and I believe in the Lakers coaching staff because that's my team. Not saying other coaching staffs aren't great, and I don't believe in them. But as far as winning the championship this season, I think that's a Los Angeles Lakers and a Los Angeles Clippers championship to lose. One of those 2 teams should win. However, the Nets make it interesting. The Sixers playing great, they make it interesting. The Jazz playing right now, they make it interesting. So, like I said, every game count. I'm not like my homie Jared. And do I think the Nets have what it takes? Yes. Do they have what it takes this season? I'm saying no. That's just how I feel about a number of things, and this conversation and this quick pod isn't where I want to discuss that because it's kind of too late to discuss it because they'll soon make a move before the trade deadline to make themselves better, their team better, so things can change. But right now, even if they do make changes, I still feel not this year. But I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. So that's just one point I want to make. Every game counts. Yes, the Lakers played bad. Yes, the Lakers will be without Anthony Davis for 4 weeks. Yes, the start of him being away, the Lakers have 9 games before the All-Star break, in which I think they'll go 6-3. So was this a big deal? Sort of, kind of, yes. Because if the Lakers don't get Anthony Davis back, or they don't get Anthony Davis back healthy, they could be in bad news. And that's when it falls over to this point where, hey, the Los Angeles Clippers is that next best team. Number 2 of just a few things I want to point out. Barkley said something interesting last night, and I'll play that right. It'll come. I don't know how I'm going to edit this, but here it is. Here it is. Here it is.
Yes. I've been in the NBA since 1984. The notion that you can just go out and outscore everybody offensively, and the 2 things they lack in defense and rebounding. Those are their 2 weaknesses. I think they need to make a trade to be able to get another big guy. But the notion that they're just going to go out and outscore people and win a championship, I don't believe you can do that. They got 3 guys who are great one-on-one players, but there's only 1 ball out there. And the way the NBA is structured today, where they're going to play against teams, Philadelphia in one instance, Joel Embiid going to have a field day down in the post. Ben Simmons can play one of those guys. He's a great defender. But I don't believe they're just going to outscore people. You know, everybody talking about how great they are offensively. Yeah, you're going to play defense and rebound the ball at some point.
Interesting take by Barkley. A very, very, very interesting take. But also, Kenny Smith said something very interesting as well. And I'll play that, play that, play that, play that, play that.
The one thing that they are, when they're at their best, is small. Even with Kevin Durant. Because Kevin Durant, I say they're 3 guards. Kevin Durant is he's a guard. He plays on the perimeter, he shoots jump shots, he does things off the dribble. He's a guard at 7 feet. So, can you be small with an Anthony Davis, an Embiid, those guys who can play the perimeter, but then they really do their damage in the box. And those are the elite of the elite teams. And then if you throw Utah in there now with Gobert, who's not a 3-point shooter, but can defend the 3-point, like guys like that are around the league. Those are the elite teams, and same thing with the
Clippers. Don't forget the Clippers too.
Same thing with Clippers, where Kawhi does not play small. He doesn't play perimeter. He plays everywhere. So they offensive rebound you to death. So that's going to be the question: can they do that and be small?
Yeah, offensively.
Another interesting take by Kenny the Jet Smith. All right, so this is what I want to say based on my second point. hearing from Barkley and Kenny. They uttered reasons in which I don't like the Nets' chances this season. You can't just outscore teams. We know that. You just can't. You can't just outscore. At some point or some game, you're just going to be off. You're going to get cold. Fatigue happens. Basketball is a game of runs, and there are going to be times where you're just going to run out of runs in that game. Run out of runs. That's weird. But okay, you can't just play small, right? And win all the time. We've watched that type of basketball, and they have a coaching staff that, from player who's now the coach to a coach who is on the coaching staff of a player he once coached, small ball was something that he brought to the table and made basketball fun. So when Barkley and Kenny the Jet say what they say, I think it was Kenny the Jet said it, and Barkley said it to a certain extent as well, you can't play small and win all the time. It's been proven that you can't play small and win all the time. Like, you have to get big, because when the possessions become minimal and the basketball hoop shrinks and the court gets smaller, the damage is done in the post or outside shooting. And the Nets have shown they can shoot, but like I said, you can't just outscore people. And their shooting is three-point shooting and three-point scoring, which eventually leads you to outscore a team. However, since you can't always play that type of way, and small ball creates that, you have to figure something out and fill some holes here and there. And I think they will address that. At least we all hope, right? And that last thing is you need to be able to defend and defend well. And a lot of people are talking about the fact that the Nets, they score well, but they don't always defend well. I don't think they defend well at all. I mean, they get stops here and there, but I'm talking no shit, less like the next 5 possessions on defense, we're getting a stop. We haven't seen that just yet. Let's just say that. We haven't seen it. So since we haven't seen it, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. We just haven't seen it. So, people, please, listen, don't become a victim to the moment. Like my homie Stephen A. Smith was this morning on the episode of First Take, right? Or like Nets fans are, because they beat the Lakers, who are down 2 players, just like the Nets are down KD. Or like anyone who disliked the Los Angeles Lakers or really disliked LeBron James, right? AD will be back in the lineup, at least we hope, in the next 4 weeks. As I mentioned earlier, I predicted the Lakers to go 6-3 during this stretch of games between February 16th to March 3rd, leading into the All-Star break. So far, they're 1-1 with the Heat. They got the Wizards, Jazz, Blazers, Warriors, Suns, and Kings next during this 2-week stretch. All right? So that's just a part of my second point. Just take that all into consideration. My third point, and this has nothing to do with the game itself or a expert or analyst suggestions or their thought on the game. My homeboy Kevin Warren made a Facebook post that reads, and I'll screenshot that so y'all can see it, but this is what he said. I'm calling it now. If the Lakers-Nets finals, or if there is a Lakers-Nets finals, LeBron will average 40-point triple-double in the series. Hashtag should have hushed, right? Now, if you recall, LeBron James missed a technical foul in the first quarter, and Kyrie said, "That's y'all best free throw shooter." Now, I don't know if my homie Kevin was referring to that part of the game or a different part of the game. Kyrie Irving did say, like, I want the best version of the Lakers. But what's most important to that post is, or what I care most about from that post is, there was a comment. And a comment said, Kyrie is the X factor, and KD and Harden balance out AD and LeBron. I'm going to respectfully disagree. However, I get where this person is coming from. And the reason why I get that is because I think we as sports fans use that a lot. You know, we go to the X factor because we feel certain players or a certain player will balance out the next superstar or superstars on a team. In my opinion, if neither team look to get better and they stay constructed as they currently are, I don't think that argument works. I don't. And reason why? I just go back to what Kenny and Chuck said. And y'all can take time and go back and listen to those 2 1-minute voice clips. I go back to what they said. Basketball to me is a game of runs and a game of matchups. And last season, Anthony Davis was a matchup disaster for every team that the Los Angeles Lakers played in the playoffs in the bubble. Y'all know that. Y'all all watch that. People will hear me, well, oh yeah, well, AD was a matchup nightmare, but he didn't play the Clippers, and he also didn't play the best version of the Heat because the Heat were kind of banged up throughout that series. And also, some people don't think the Heat deserved to be there. They had their own Eastern Conference champion to represent in the finals. So, at the end of the day, man, AD is he's a matchup nightmare. It's a disaster trying to guard him in the paint, by the basket, with his back to the basket. It's a disaster guarding him away from the basket on the perimeter because he can shoot. He can't dribble that well, but he can dribble enough to get you back down to that block to do damage, right? So, if you recall, the Lakers went on a small run in the first half to close out the first quarter, right? And LeBron James was basically Anthony Davis, right? He played the post. And oftentimes when LeBron takes his game to the post, it knocks the defense off their game because you don't know what he's going to do. You can't predict what he's going to do. You don't know if he's going to fade away, which that fade away is looking good in his arsenal. It still looks weird because he's just too big to be fading away, but he could hit you with a fade away from the mid-range. He could pass. We all know he's a great passer. And if he doesn't want to do that, he'll back you down and play bully ball and score layups. So, to my homeboy, Devon Patterson, it's too early in the season to think Kyrie Irving will be the X factor if you believe Harden and KD will balance out, or I guess cancel out, AD and LeBron. It's too early in the season to predict that or even say that. But I get where you're coming from, and I respect where you're coming from. Also, how can I put it? If what you say is true about Harden based on your Facebook post, Harden will play better because he has a legit chance to win a ring. So his playoff performance for the Brooklyn Nets will change. When you say that, it makes me believe more what Shaq said about Harden. Makes me believe that that is true. Harden said he gave the city of Houston everything. Shaq said, no, you didn't. And a lot of people kind of ridicule Shaq for saying that. But if you're going to go against what Shaq said and you believe Harden's gameplay or performance will change based on the fact he has a legit shot to win the chip, then how is it going to change? Because according to him, he gave everything he had to the Rockets. And if he performed more, then that means he has some more to give. So are you saying his play is going to change because he realized he's on a team with Kevin Durant, who's an MVP just as he is, in an all-star and a no-shit top 3 player in the league? Is his performance going to change because he's also on a team with Kyrie Irving, a guy that can also get busy, dribble the ball, pass the ball, do all these other things? Or is he going to change because he's not going to choke, and I hate to use the word choke, but underperform in the moment when he needs to be big in the moment? I don't know, man. And it's going to be interesting to see because I think an interesting take. So, With that being said, man, I'm going to wrap up. It's Friday. Hopefully I can get this edited and posted tonight, but I'm back. I'm back with some more sports content for the first time. Was not even prepared for this, but watching that game yesterday and then hearing some things throughout the day and then being able to, chime into the second half of the game just out loud while I was working, it allowed me to gather some thoughts, put some things down on paper and bring it to you. So hopefully y'all enjoy this, and hopefully I can bring you another one pretty soon. With that being said, I'm Charlie. This is You Heard It Here First and My Beer for Tonight, and I'm out. Peace.